I'm Carrie from Sleater-Kinney.
And I'm Corin, and we're here to talk about movies.
That's right.
So I'm going to start with The Decline of Western Civilization by Penelope Spheris. It was one of those films that we repeatedly watched in Olympia as part of the music scene there, because it is an incredible document of the LA music scene, of the punk scene, of that whole ideology and lifestyle. It was a lot of things at once. It was fascinating. It was very sad. It was filmed at a time before we had more of a conversation going about addiction and drugs and art. And so, I think watching it was a whole lesson about being an artist and living that lifestyle and the choices that you make in it, right? Because there are so many thoughtful, interesting people, eccentric characters, and also there's just the obvious ability to destroy yourself so fast. I was sort of a young person thinking about doing music, being an artist. It was a helpful thing to think about, okay, what are the different pathways you can take in this world,
Yeah, you took a slightly different path.
Slightly different. But there's still this tour that could all change, I guess.
Okay, my first movie is very different than Decline of Western Civilization Part 1. It is a Preston Sturges film called The Lady Eve. It's with Barbara Stanwyck and Henry Fonda. It's a screwball comedy. When I was a kid, I watched a lot of films from the golden age of Hollywood. I was obsessed. And one time it was The Lady Eve, and I just couldn't believe, Barbara Stanwyck, she's just glorious, beautiful, and stunning, and so funny. Preston Sturges was a great comedic writer and director. This, to me, is his peak film, his best film. It just really informed, for me, like a sensibility around, I like silliness, I like absurdity, but I also like it contrasted with something that's graceful and elevated. And so if you've never seen a Preston Sturges film, it's a very witty, very smart, very silly film. I feel like it's the blueprint for a lot of great romantic comedies.
Another film that I absolutely loved growing up was Popeye by Robert Altman. I just absolutely loved it. Obviously I was a child, so the idea of Popeye and the cartoon was very fresh in my mind, but it was one of the most successful bringing to real life of a cartoon or a character. And I thought Robin Williams just absolutely nailed Popeye. His voice in it, the sound of Robert Altman films to me are just as important as the visuals. He was an incredible soundscape artist. You're in that world 100% all of the time. You're in Popeye's head. You really are inside that person's world, even though it's Popeye. I was just I grew up such a huge fan of Robin Williams. He had such a gentleness about his characters that I felt very safe watching as a kid growing up. It felt very parental in a way to kids in the 1970s and 80s. That's what we did. We watched a lot of TV, and that movie made me feel like it was a good place to be. And I knew who the bad guys and the good guys were. And it was funny. It was hysterically funny as well. Shelley Duvall as Olive Oyl. She's great. She really goes for it. And the two of them have this amazing chemistry.
So Moonstruck is one of my other favorite films. It's rare that a film is the peak of so many actors. Moonstruck is peak Nicolas Cage. It is peak Cher. It's peak Danny Aiello. It's peak Olympia Dukakis, all in one film. It is funny. It is heart-wrenching. It has so many great lines in it. It's a beautiful love story. It's a beautiful film about brotherhood and family and unlikely couples. Cher is just an incredible actress. When you go back to this era of Cher, where she's doing Mask, Silkwood, Mermaids, Moonstruck, this is an incredible run for someone who started out as a singer. And also Nicolas Cage. Nicolas Cage is shockingly, heart-wrenchingly attractive in this film. He just, when she first goes into, and he's baking bread, and then when she falls in love with his brother, he's just so, he's the way that he expresses that sense of being forlorn, to me, is just the truest expression of having your heart ripped out your chest. If you forget for 1 second how good of an actor he is, all you have to do is revisit something he's done in the most recent year, and you're amazed by his choices. He's such a dynamic actor. This was lightning in a bottle, though, Moonstruck. Putting those actors together in a room around a kitchen table. Great movie, Moonstruck.